Kryon. The Merkaba greetings, dearest ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Let us speak of the Merkaba. I wish to share with you some further esoteric aspects of this wonderful conversation you are finally having about what is the most sacred part of the human being. There are so many questions that might arise about what it is, where it is located, how it functions. All of these questions have already been answered esoterically for hundreds of years. What is it within the human that is part of what you call God? How does it work? We have spoken of the Merkaba in a way that says, as above, so below. We have spoken of it as a form, and we have shown it to you. A form that is not actually found in nature, but which exists in atomic structure. But this is not a form you will ever find in the human body. You will never find it inside the human body. And if you had that quantum lens we have spoken of, which science will one day have, and which will allow you to see multidimensional energies, you would not see it there either. Completely and totally, this form of the soul's vehicle is esoteric. It is a metaphorical form because you cannot truly see it in any form, not really. It has been given to humanity in a certain way so that you can relate to it in your three-dimensional mind, and that is how it must always be. Let me give you an example. It's a good example, and I hope you understand it. If there is something you cannot see, and you have information that says it doesn't exist, so you cannot see it, if something similar then appears, you will interpret it based on what you can see. Moses on the mountain had a burning bush, and he describes it. It is a fire that does not consume itself, or what it is a fire of. A bush, it does not burn up, it remains, and it is luminous. Do you think that is really what he saw? And I have already given you this information before. In those days, dearest ones, when Moses saw that, the only thing in human culture that produced its own light was fire. Now, if the same thing happened today, it would not look like a burning bush. It might look like an angelic presence shining with its own light in that exquisitely beautiful way in which we see some lights glow, or perhaps electricity or plasma. There are countless examples of things that create their own light in every color and in every possible way. You can imagine, can't you, a beautiful, radiant angel? And that was not Moses's time. All he had was fire, and so it became a burning bush. Do you see where I'm going with this? The Merkaba is an energy you cannot see. It is the energy of communication, we might say, between your body, your cellular structure, and everything that is with the other side of the veil. That is what it is. And so the geometry that has been given to you to observe is completely and totally metaphorical, but it represents the completion of the idea, even though it remains just an idea. Let's continue the discussion. Let's say this idea of God within a vehicle of your soul that you carry with you, the transmission to and from that Merkaba, where does it originate in the body? And you would say, well, does it come through an organ? Does it come through your consciousness? How is it converted into the chemistry of intuition? How is it then converted into a transmission of consciousness, we might say? And the answer is the pineal gland. And I think you already know that. You will notice slightly increased activity in the pineal gland, and it might be chemistry, it might be a feeling you have, but this has always been the window to the soul, dearest ones. This is where it happens. There always has to be this conversion, one might say, from what is multidimensional and esoteric to the chemical human, because this is the physics of your reality. One of the problems that has always plagued esoteric thinkers, is that it's not real. So people look at you suspiciously when you say, you believe in this and that, but you can't see any of it. Why do you believe in these things? And this is where we ask that person, can you see love? In its purest form, can you see it? You only see its results. Can you see faith and hope? Can you see gratitude? Perhaps they are just emotions. Well, can you see emotions? And you could go on endlessly, speaking of physics. Can you see gravity? Can you see the magnetic grid? All these things that you have, that you believe in, that you use every day are invisible, and you have difficulty believing in God within you. This is because it's not your programming. Some of you are beginning to realize this. There are things coming in the next year that I want to tell you about. As time goes on, the revelation of these things will be possible because you are slowly shifting from one energy to another. This 5-year plan that you must implement by 2030 to completely emerge from this phase of change is being realized now, and we have already given you some of the characteristics for this year. Well, these are attributes of the coming year that we will also give you. These are the things you were waiting for, dearest ones, because I came to this planet to tell you all about this time, about the sacredness of the precession of the equinoxes, what it meant for you, about the cosmology of the planet from the indigenous peoples to you, what they said, what your churches said, and now you are right in the middle of it. I want you to know that there is so much gratitude, even towards those who are on the other side of the veil, that you are immersing yourself in this energy and beginning to understand why there is more. And the Merkaba, the vehicle of your soul, will be a little more active than you think. Transmission to the field, that is what we are talking about. You are very familiar with receiving from Spirit. You receive miracles. You receive coincidences. You receive all these things. You receive the enormous amount of intuition that comes to you. That is that antenna that receives, 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 and receives. Now we are talking about something you're sending back, but not necessarily from where it came. You are sending it to the field. The field is a real physics, and it is also invisible. These are things that have only been revealed to you recently, in the last 20 or 30 years of life on this planet, and they're documentable. The field is real. It is a conscious energy. It remains there and does not transmit anything. Not really. Your Merkaba is the antenna that picks up the energy present in the field. It doesn't really transmit, but you still pick it up. This is because transmission and reception are inadequate terms. They are too simplistic. You don't have a term to define it. Planned congruence. Oh, that's not quite right either. Coherence with the energy of a specific consciousness. That's not quite right either. Yet we are talking about these things. You don't have a term to describe them. When you receive miracles, synchronicities, healings, what is the word you use? I'll tell you. Thank you. That is the word. Thank you, Spirit, for loving us enough to put these things within us. And Spirit will look at you and say it is your consciousness that creates all of this. They are not gifts from heaven. It is you integrating into a divinity that has always been there. And the field is just a part of the planet. It is part of the mechanism of this cosmic clock that reacts to the vibration of your consciousness. It is a vibration, you know, and the more you elevate in this vibration, the more you receive and send, because then you align with this word that you still don't have. The simplest thing I can give you is transmission and reception, because it's the only similar thing you have. And so you can keep it if you want, but it is much more. You are knights of light. You might say it manifests this way. Imagine a light that transmits and receives at the same time, that is always yours, but changes color as your vibration elevates. And the colors change what is possible in physics, and you begin to become part of the field, and to transmit. Not quite, part of what is all the consciousness you possess, which is so divine and so beautiful. There is much more to tell you. What are you concretely giving back to the field through what is your vehicle of light, called the Merkaba? You cannot see what you cannot see. The Merkaba is real, it is spiritual, it is there, it is energetic, and it is certainly not a geometric figure, but it is the best you have. Just like Moses, the best he had was a fire that did not burn the bush. Stay tuned, dearest ones. There will be more to say about the preciousness of what you are. And so it is. The power of integrity to overcome illusion, dearest ones. We are approaching one of the most significant months of this seeding year. Many of us are now consciously embodying new frequencies of light, actively shifting our DNA coordinates as we continue to choose to move into a new harmonic frequency band. A new timeline of infinite possibilities, as Passage 88 reminds us, because infinity is what we are in nature, and so are the many lives we can have and the dreams we can realize when we are fully aligned with the divine and governed by the soul. We observe the effects of the shifting of our DNA's time coordinates in many ways, both biologically and physically, such as transfer, because as our frequency changes, so does our environment, with continuous shifts and the consequent possibility of no longer experiencing the same relationships or meeting the same people as before, depending on the frequency we choose to maintain. The closer we get to the Lion's Gate passage, the more we will be asked to create greater integrity within ourselves, in our bodies, in our relationships, and in every aspect of our lives, as this is the only way to continue our path of redimensionalization. We cannot pass through the portal without our integrity, because we cannot hide on the enlightened planes who we are, our true intention, and our purpose. No external force separates us. We are simply aligning and anchoring our energy where we truly belong. We cannot force others to choose our frequency. We can only honor them, cherish all the love we have shared, and let them go, as we too choose our new destination. Others will continue to accompany us on our journey, because they have shifted with us. Everything unfolds within a divinely orchestrated plan for everything. The current fiery passage we are going through requires complete coherence and integrity from us, as the 8/8 passage is not always the same. We are no longer even the same as before, and even less so are the energies that now surround us. Pay attention to repetitive messages, as events change from year to year, even from moment to moment, and this can become part of a false spiritual ascension matrix that traps consciousness in a cycle. By repeating the same messages, we perform the same actions and rituals, and so a program is created that keeps us trapped in an energetic cycle within the false ascension matrix. Messages that tell us that energies update our DNA, when we know that the power to realize this change lies only within us. By incorporating this spiritual element, we become energetically dependent, fueling dependence on external forces. Those of you who are soul-aligned know, because you receive new guidance at every moment, that no moment is the same as the previous one, let alone planetary events and the energies that planet Earth is now embodying. Whenever you find yourself in this situation or have doubts about what you are integrating, take a deep breath and anchor your sovereignty by decreeing, I ask my unified self and my divine guides to purify my perception, allowing me to integrate only what is pure, sovereign, and aligned with the ultimate truth. I activate my inner discernment now and always. I ask my unified self/God and divine guides to show me the truth behind every word I read, every soul I meet, and every situation I face, ensuring that my energy remains free and that only the pure light of God is anchored within my being. The 8-8 passage is only the culmination of what we have already been working on, personally and collectively, and which we have been perceiving intensely since the end of June, because everything is already happening. The reconfiguration of Earth's 5th and 7th dimensional bridges, connecting to new evolved timelines, the removal of further false planetary identities and false ascension timelines that function as soul traps. Everything is simultaneous. We humans only see the culmination. This passage will continue to help us update our DNA, to continue reconnecting with new evolved dimensions. Energetic assistance, when we choose to co-create with them, must not be confused with energies that work in our place, because if we believe that, we lose again the power to trigger our inner processes. Ascension is about embracing simplicity, and, this year, on a personal level, my evolutionary guides emphasize the importance of working on integrity during this passage. It is not an easy task for all ascending souls, as we coexist with many other choices. Integrity, as you know, consists of acting according to what one feels and thinks, always with benevolence towards oneself and towards the whole. This is compatible with creating healthy boundaries that also allow us to remain steadfast in our hearts, undisturbed by lower influences and non-physical anomalies. Integrity is particularly difficult when we continuously embody truth, abandoning those old ways and moving towards a more evolved state of being, because when this happens, everything else changes too, and our entire lives and relationships are affected by our inner change. This happens especially in our relationships, when we feel that a relationship no longer supports us, and we no longer support each other spiritually. Maintaining it over time is not always the best choice for us or for others. It prevents us from evolving naturally. Although everyone has their own timing, letting go with love and gratitude is the only way forward. Leaving behind places, homes, partners, friends, and other situations is a difficult challenge for many of us. However, the greater the integrity we embody, the greater the love, wisdom, acceptance, and growth we allow for ourselves and others. Others deserve to know the truth about our feelings. They too deserve the same inner freedom we have, and that is why integrity is fundamental to building balanced and equitable relationships. Integrity is what the lion teaches us, because for him, living and loving means doing so with intensity, compassion, and authenticity. This is the supreme and greatest strength of all, to love everyone, equally, unconditionally, and above all, sincerely. Integrity, combined with coherence, communicates to our DNA and the universe that we are ready to embrace our next destination and our next divine assignment. Integrity is, above all, the most difficult and at the same time the most important virtue to cultivate right now in order to finally exit an old timeline. It is not just about meditating, healing, or activating. It is about alignment through personal integrity, which leads to the greatest achievements of the soul. By learning to say goodbye with divine love and respect, we also learn to receive the infinite blessings that the universe has in store for us, when we are ready to understand that the nature of all things is freedom, constant change, and expansion, and so are we. May you let go to continue embracing the magnificence of who you are, dearest ones. Within infinite love, Natalia, Alba. The Elders. Your soul's purpose. Do you realize that the purpose of your life is only a component of that original purpose, the one of your soul? Do you also realize that this original purpose is much more than just a part, but not the full measure, of what you're destined to find? It is that life is much more than acquiring and accumulating. It is the means and the measure of much more. Can you see how what we speak of can be immediately understood when one considers the acquisition and accumulation of goods that one cannot take with them when they leave this life? It seems strange that many do not grasp or fully recognize this fact. And perhaps there is the belief that family members are the reason for striving to obtain, maintain, and accumulate. But do you realize that often those who receive do not keep what was obtained? It is an enigma how certain specific factors, that determine outcomes, are not visible to those who acquire and accumulate. Your purpose is significant, and so, today, know that your purpose, as we have already said, is energy. It is the energy you must create. It is what the soul wanted to understand, and you are the means to do so. It is you who have been entrusted with the task of discovering what it is. Simply put, there have been many efforts that have not produced the expected, anticipated, or believed results. And so now, without much happening in this regard, there is no longer any memory of what that thing was. And therefore, a discovery of measure must occur so that your soul does not remain trapped here in an endless cycle of incarnations. Because you see, there will be another and another life after this one if you do not move more today than you did yesterday. Know that life is strange in this sense. It is the lack of implementation, and also the fact that this memory is no longer as it once was. It is that this must be found now, because today you have more than yesterday. Today you have more because there is more that you need to discover. It is not about how to afford to buy this, that, and the other, but rather how to achieve a restoration of memory. It is about changing the game and play a little, with new details to consider in the context of life. Soon a path to a purpose will be available. It is when you discover what was previously impossible to discover because it did not exist physically. Now that there is a new way to know that you must look and recognize that this is it. It is not necessary to continue this search to discover something else, unless that is what you were looking for. Do you see that many come back to search again? And how far and to what extent is it necessary to know something else when you have already found more than you can imagine right now? It is because you have not read our most recent books, different from any other book currently available. And so, try to learn more. But when you find it, recognize what you have found. Recognize that it is not necessary to continue your search, because this is its culmination. This is how it is, so that you may understand the reason why you came here in the first place. So roll up your sleeves to discover what this thing is. What we speak of and what we suggest is the most important discovery of a lifetime. Humor. Hypothetical conversation I imagine the Pleiadians having about us a Pleiadian. So, what do the humans of Earth call us? Another Pleiadian. They call us Pleiadians. So logic suggests they call themselves Earthlings, right? Or Terrans, or Gaeans, or Pashamans. No. They call themselves humans. But we are the same species, right? We can have children together normally. If the term they use for our species is human, wouldn't it be logical for them to speak of Earth humans, Era humans, Tema humans, etc.? No. Even the most spiritual among them, who know we exist, might not recognize Era and Temer as the names they use for some of our worlds. So they call the inhabitants of Era Erans? No. They refer to people from any Pleiadian world as Pleiadians. So these are wise people, aware of unity, who recognize that there is actually no separation? No. They kill and rape each other all the time. They are extremely territorial, violent, and tribal, and they divide into smaller and smaller groups. That's disturbing. But our people of Era and our people of Temer have substantial cultural differences. Don't they at least call us Era humans and Tema humans, etc.? No. They want our technology, our healing, and our company, but they're not interested in us as people. They simply call us Pleiadians and imagine us as Westerners from Earth in 2026, only more beautiful and more advanced. Of course, they are suffering a lot too, so it's understandable. Someone who is drowning is not exactly curious about others, I suppose. Also, calling someone Aaron sounds vaguely offensive in their dominant language, English. It's similar to error, errand, and errant in that language. So most of their people come from the geographical region of England? No. They have a concept called countries, and the country is called England. England has about 0.7% of the world population. However, the most dominant country on Earth was a former English colony, and it became independent, but never freed itself from the language of its former oppressors. America has about 4% of the world population. Wait, the most populous country on Earth has only 4% of the world population? No. The The most populous countries on Earth, India and China, are home to about 17 to 18% of the world population, at least according to their statistics. English is only the third most spoken language in the world by native speakers. England was simply very dominant and advanced for a period, which is why English is the dominant language. Don't the other countries also wish to decolonize their influence from England? Surprisingly little. In the past, England intentionally sold drugs to China. Today, the leader of China, representing 17% of the world population, dresses like an Englishman, representing 0.7% of the world population. That is truly strange. Also, they seem to think we live in 5D. What does that mean? I have no idea. It's not something that exists in tangible reality. Many humans on Earth are convinced they know what the fifth dimension is, but everyone has a different definition. I suppose one could measure energetic states and classify them, but they aren't even trying. Or one could classify states of spiritual development, but it's well known that if a person tries to describe a state of consciousness more advanced than their own, they usually only produce wishful thinking nonsense. I see. I admit that some of us have started using the expression 5D as shorthand for a vague set of concepts when talking to them, simply because the term resonates with their sensitivities. Okay. And what is the term they use for their solar system? Solar system. Yes. What is the term they use for their solar system? The term they use for their particular solar system is the solar system. Anyway, why are you even trying to gather information by asking questions? When I returned from my undercover mission on Earth, I uploaded all my new knowledge to the Galactic network. You could have downloaded 1,000 times this amount of information into your brain in a blink. I wanted to have a human experience. Galactic message. Stillness. The gateway to clarity. One of the greatest challenges on the spiritual path is learning to distinguish the still, small voice of the higher self from the noise of the conditioned mind. Your higher self is always present, guiding you toward greater truth and alignment. Yet many struggle to recognize this guidance because their inner world has become crowded with fear, expectations, mental chatter, and unresolved emotions. Intuitive guidance can only be perceived clearly when a mind is calm. Imagine your mind as a lake. When its surface is disturbed by strong winds, the reflection of the sky fragments and distorts. The sky has not changed, but the moving water prevents you from seeing it clearly. Likewise, the wisdom of the higher self always shines within you, but a turbulent mind can distort its reflection. When consciousness becomes still, truth reveals itself naturally. Unprocessed emotions create ripples on the surface of awareness. Fear can cause you to interpret caution as danger. Attachment can make you confuse desire with intuition. Anxiety can turn a subtle inner message into a dramatic forecast. The conditioned mind speaks loudly and urgently, while the higher self communicates with patience, simplicity, and serene certainty. This is why emotional healing is not separate from spiritual development. Every emotion, when recognized and released with love, allows perception to become clearer. There is no need to repress your feelings or force yourself into an artificial calm. Stillness is not repression. It is the compassionate space in which emotions can flow through us without controlling our perception. The ancient precept, be still and know, is an invitation to return to the silent center of your being. It asks you to reach sufficient stillness to experience truth directly. When the waters of consciousness are calm, the light of the higher self shines unobstructed. Stillness generates tranquility. Tranquility generates clarity, and clarity generates wise actions. The more regularly you meditate, breathe consciously, and withdraw attention from constant distractions, the more sensitive you become to the subtle language of intuition. True guidance can come as a quiet knowing, a gentle feeling, a sudden recognition, or an inner certainty that requires no argument. It does not shout. It does not threaten. It does not push you to act out of fear. The higher self will often guide you one step at a time. The ego demands the entire map, but the soul reveals only the next door. Learning to trust this process requires patience. Sometimes the answer does not come immediately because the mind is still trying to control its own form. Release the pretense, enter the stillness, and let clarity emerge in its own way. In a world saturated with noise, distractions, and information, stillness becomes a sacred act. It restores your inner authority. It helps you distinguish truth from projection, intuition from anxiety, and divine guidance from personal preferences. The answers you seek are often not found by thinking more, searching harder, or asking more people. They are found by finding the stillness needed to hear what whispers beneath the noise. Be still. Breathe. Listen. The higher self has never stopped speaking to you. You are simply learning to listen. Saint Germain, the experienced Seraphina. Good morning, my family. Thank you for your love, your light, and your healing energies. Do you have any advice or words of encouragement to share today? I am open to receiving them. Saint Germain. Dear lady, I am your Saint Germain. I step forward today on this glorious day on this splendid planet to bring you words of wisdom and encouragement. Blessed souls. You have all come here to take part in a miraculous undertaking. This planet has long been a school, a university of expansion and transformation. It is a jewel that shines in the skies and allows the Mother's angels to have experience. As angels and beings of light and love, you are that light and that love. To fully experience them, you must necessarily step back in order to touch, feel, and smell all the wonders of the universe. Earth is the playground of the Mother's legions of light. Experiencing physicality is the reason for incarnation. Many forget that the physical experience is the reason they come. Rejoice in your physical senses. Marvel at the ability to taste, to eat, to laugh heartily, to feel the earth beneath your feet, to see with your eyes the wonders of nature, to cry, to suffer, to experience the multitude of sensations available to you on this planet while you inhabit a human body. Remember, the body, as you are experiencing it now, is not indestructible, but know that as you progress toward a higher vibrational state, the body will progress with you, transmuting into a different state of being. You will take these bodies with you. They will not wither and die as they did in ancient times. You will experience the higher realms with a body created to vibrate with that realm. What you are experiencing right now, dearest ones, is the body stretching to accommodate the higher energies toward which you are moving. Your experiences of discomfort, sometimes great discomfort, are a direct consequence of this expansion. Rejoice in this. Do not be alarmed or stressed by these movements. Simply feel them and allow them to happen. You came here to feel, to have, and experience. Embrace it, enjoy it, have fun. When you shift your attention and intention to the adventure of this journey and the experience that comes with it, you will be amazed at how fun this transition can be. Remember, attitude is a fundamental part of the experience. Live each day with an attitude of gratitude and a spirit of adventure, and watch how quickly, easily, and gracefully your life experiences and adventures unfold here as the new human unfolds. We are always with you. I am your street Germain.